Let's talk about our planet. I mean, when we start talking about the environment, the whole conversation can feel huge, right? Almost overwhelming. We're talking about the air we breathe, the water we drink, basically the future of everything. It is a massive topic, so today we're going to try and break it down.
So let me ask you this right off the bat. How would you describe our planet's biggest challenge? Is it the pollution you can actually see? Is it climate change? Or maybe the loss of wildlife? It's a tough one because there are so many right answers.
To get a handle on all of this, we're going to take a pretty unique approach. We're going to explore these massive environmental issues through the lens of the IELTS exam. Yeah, that high-stakes English test that millions of people take. Turns out, its questions and sample answers give us a surprisingly clear way to talk about our planet. So here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the big problems, then we'll zoom right into the power each one of us has. After that, we'll scale up to what governments need to be doing. We'll even get into the language of change. And finally, how we can turn all this talk into action. Let's dive in.
Okay, first up, let's get a really clear picture of the problems we're facing. And these aren't just some abstract, far-off issues, They are happening right now in communities all over the world.
This quote from an IELTS prompt just brings it right down to street level. Water pollution isn't some vague headline. It's a real river where you can't swim anymore. It's unsafe drinking water. It's a problem that starts with things like industrial waste and just improper trash disposal, sometimes right in our own backyards. And, when you zoom out from that one local problem, you start to see this huge global pattern. All these threats are connected. Climate change is making storms, droughts, and floods way more intense. The ice caps are melting, sea levels are rising, and that puts entire cities at risk. And all of this, it's causing a massive disruption of ecosystems, pushing so many species toward extinction. And if we want to understand the causes, we have to look at our own systems. For instance, get this, livestock farming, just raising animals for food, accounts for about 14.5% of all global greenhouse gas emissions. That is a staggering number. It comes from the animals themselves and the massive deforestation needed for grazing land. It literally connects what's on our dinner plates to climate change. Now, looking at problems on that scale, it can feel completely paralyzing. I get it. But it doesn't have to be. Let's shift gears and talk about the incredible power of individual action, because that's where change really gets started. So, the IELTS answers introduce us to people like Sarah, who decides to start a community group to organize local cleanups, and her friend, Eva, who's all in on an eco-conscious lifestyle. These aren't superheroes, right? They're just regular people who decided to do something, and their stories make the solutions feel real and, honestly, achievable. What's so cool is how their actions basically create this environmental toolkit for all of us. You can see the clear steps here. Organizing a cleanup, composting, choosing a bike over a car, or even just remembering to bring a fabric bag to the store. Each one is a small choice that, when we all do it, adds up to a massive impact. But individual actions, as crucial as they are, they need backup. They have to be supported by large-scale systemic change. So let's see how this builds, because this is where governments and international bodies have to step up. The playbook for governments is actually pretty clear. It all starts with setting really bold targets for cutting carbon emissions. That means pushing hard for a switch to renewable energy, investing in things like flood barriers to protect communities, and this is a big one, working together with other nations. And this chart brilliantly illustrates that it can be done. This isn't just a wish list. Look at countries like Denmark, with its huge investment in wind power, or Costa Rica, which runs almost entirely on renewable energy. They've proven that a green transition is not only possible, it can power a strong economy. This quote from another IELTS response really hits the nail on the head. Think about it. Pollution doesn't carry a passport. Carbon emissions in one country affect the entire planet. So without a unified global team effort, any single country's progress is, well, limited. It has to be a collective push. Okay, so we've covered the problems and the solutions, but there's one more crucial piece to this puzzle, the language we use. I mean, to solve a problem, you first have to be able to talk about it clearly. First up, carbon footprint. You hear this term all the time, right? But it's not just jargon. It's a real way to measure the impact of everything we do, from what we eat to how we get to work. It helps us pinpoint where our actions can make the biggest difference. Next, sustainable. This word is everything. It's the goal line. It's about building systems that can actually last, that meet our needs today without compromising the needs of the future. And finally, renewable energy. This is the engine that will get us to that sustainable future. It's all about tapping into clean, basically limitless sources of power like the sun and the wind. This is the language of solutions. All right, so we've used the structure of this test to analyze the problems, explore solutions, and define the key terms. But now it's time to move beyond the theory and into the real world. And really, the whole point is this transition right here. It's one thing to talk about the greenhouse effects, but it's another thing entirely to actively adopt renewable energy. It's easy to discuss carbon emissions, but the hard work is in actually reducing our own carbon footprint. This captures the exact shift we need to make, from just talking about it to actually doing something. Ultimately, the most important test we face isn't on paper. It's a test of action, and it's graded by the choices we make every single day. So the final question? It's for you. It's not about what you would say in an exam, but what you will do in the world. What will your answer be?